My last recollection is I'm in the room, I'm puking my guts out, my head's going to explode. I'm seeing the balls of light. They come in, I'm going to a coma.
And now your host, Rob and Ashley. Hi, I'm Rob, and this is Life Rewired. Before we get started today, I want to remind you guys that we have a support group on Facebook. It's called Brain Injury Support, Life Rewired. And if you need a support group, that's a great place to look for it. If you want to be a guest on the program, reach out to us at rob@myliferewired.com. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button. Help us get this message out to as many people as we can. Today on our program, we have George Visger. He is a University of Colorado football scholarship major. He majored in fisheries and biology. He played in the 1977 Orange Bowl. He was a 3-year starter at defense tackle, excuse me, because my words get mixed up. He was selected in the 6th round in the 1980 draft and played for the 49ers for 2 years. And during the 80 season, George sustained a concussion against the Cowboys. And he played the entire game by clearing his head with smelling salts. And early in 81 Super Bowl season, he developed hydrocephalus. Did I say that right?
Hydrocephalus, real close, yep.
I was close, which is water on the brain. And he underwent 3 emergency VP shunt brain surgeries in 8 months. And he was given his last rites at 2-3. So, and he's still here with us today. I want to introduce you to George Visger. Hello, George. Thank you so much for coming on the program today.
Thanks for having me, Rob. Appreciate it.
Yes.
So you got him up. You got him up to the first 3 brain surgeries after 8 months, and I have 9 the next 12 years.
I want to hear all about that.
Got it.
We're going to do things a little differently today because we were discussing off camera how people do these interviews over and over and over again, and it's the same questions, and we don't want to do that. So we want to give you the opportunity to give your story, and then we're just going to kind of have a conversation and just talk about life.
Let's go. Kick off.
Yeah. All right, go ahead. You got the floor.
Okay, so I'll just kind of start at the beginning. I'm the 5th of 6 kids. I grew up in Stockton, California, Northern Cal. 2 older brothers and 2 older sisters and a younger sister. Both my older brothers played college football. And as a skinny, scrawny, slow 11-year-old in Pee Wee Pop Warner, whose nickname was Clang because I was so knock-kneed when I ran, the coaches said they could hear my knees clanging across the field. My dream, then I always wanted to be an oceanographer, biologist, and I want to be the greatest NFL player that ever lived. I definitely want to be better than my brothers, right?
Yeah.
And so started playing Pee Wee Pop Warner at 11 in 7th grade. My 3rd year Pop Warner in 9th grade. My diagnosed brain injury started. I had my very first and probably my worst concussion. My 3rd year Pop Warner. I was knocked totally unconscious in a bull in the ring drill, worthless bull in the ring drill, and hospitalized. Only missed 2 games, which pissed me off that I missed anything. And then went on and played at Amos Alonzo Stagg High School in Stockton. And if there's any football fans out there, they'll recognize the name. Amos Alonzo Stagg was the winningest coach in the history of football till I think, was it Bear Bryant? Somebody broke it. But anyway, so I played 2 years on the varsity. My sophomore, I was just still skinny, slow. I mean, I was tough. I went both ways. And so my 2 years on the varsity, we only lost we lost a bowl game, only game we ever lost. My high school team has been inducted into the Stockton Athletic Hall of Fame a few years ago, one of the first teams ever to be inducted. And then I was always a good student. You know, I had a 3.0 and I was a good ball player. I was all everything. And so I had scholarship offers, you know, all over. And like I said, my original dream was to be an oceanographer and the greatest NFL player that ever lived. But as a 17-year-old making decisions on where I wanted to go to school, So my number one priority was I wanted to be able to hunt and fish. Second priority was I wanted a good program. And third, I wanted a good biology program. So, so when I signed at Colorado, because you're talking hunting and fishing, it's like, that's it.
That's the place to
So when I
be.
signed at Colorado, the first words out of my old man's mouth were, "What the hell kind of school of oceanography they have at Colorado?" So I majored in fisheries biology, and my goal was before I went there, I wanted to make the travel squad as a freshman. I wanted to start as a sophomore. I wanted to be all Big Eight my junior year. I wanted to be all American my senior year. So made the travel squad my freshman year. We won the Big Eight championship and played the old Woody Hayes, Ohio State Buckeyes in the '77 Orange
Mm.
Bowl. I started 3 years. Throughout my career, I had a number of concussions, most of them not diagnosed.
Hmm.
I've played games that I don't remember playing. The only one diagnosed, up to then was just my Pop Warner one where I was hospitalized.
Mm.
But I mean, and this is an example. People have asked me many times how many concussions I have, and so, gosh darn, when I was a junior at Colorado, probably the '78 season, we're playing Oregon, and my best friend I grew up with in Stockton, who went on to sign with the Seahawks, his younger brother Chris, I grew up with. Chris was 2 years younger than us, and he was playing at Oregon. And so the Cosgroves family were like my second family.
Mm.
Okay. So we're playing there, playing Oregon and Colorado. In 12 years of football, I carried the ball twice. I caught one pass in Pee Wee Pop Warner, and I had an interception in that Oregon game. I was player of the week. Great game. Went out, took the Cosgroves parents out after the game, showed them around Boulder, had dinner. To this day, I still don't remember that game.
Oh, wow.
25 years later, somewhere around there, 2020, I run into Chris Cosgrove back in Stockton. I hadn't seen him, decades. And we had to
Yeah.
talk and he talked about when we played those guys, my junior year. He says, "Yeah, I'll never forget." He goes, "You made a tackle. You were face down on the turf. They came out, the trainers picked you up, carried you off, helped you off. And then I guess they probably gave me a few smelling salts. I went back in. And that was the first time I'd ever heard of that. That was 20 something years
Wow.
later. I had no clue.
Goodness.
And I just know that game was gone. And then the thing is, when you don't remember stuff,
Hmm.
you don't know, you don't remember it because it's just not there,
Yeah.
you know, until someone brings up something like that. For 25 years, I had no idea. I didn't remember that game. I just never really thought about it much.
Right.
So I had a number of concussions. And then my big dream, was play in the NFL and be the greatest there ever was. I got drafted originally by the Jets in '80, sixth round, then got cut at the end of preseason. I hadn't planned on that. And then the Niners picked me up about the fifth game of the season in '80. And people don't realize that once the final cut day, they come, that's supposedly the team, right?
Hmm.
You would think
Yeah.
final cut day means something. It's open season all year long. You have a bad
Really.
game or two, come into
Hmm.
practice, come into the locker room. Next week, you're going, man, Paul, Mike, and Terry are gone. And I got three new guys in here. And football, NFL is the only sport that I know of that the contracts aren't really contracts. If you sign a 10-year, $100 million contract in baseball and they cut you after one game, they owe you 10 years as far as I know.
Yeah.
NFL, you play, same thing. You sign a 3-year, $50 million contract, play one game, they owe you 1/16. Well, now it's 18 games. So they'd owe you 1/18 of that first year's salary. And the rest is all on paper. So
Oh,
they had just
wow.
traded, the Niners had just traded a veteran defensive tackle from Baltimore just 2 weeks earlier. Moves his stuff out, family out from Baltimore. 2 weeks later, he's not playing good. They cut him. They bring me in. So, and Monday, I only had like a couple days of practice. We're playing I think it was a short week. I think we were playing the Cowboys on Saturday instead of Sunday. And so they bring me in on on Wednesday, and day or two of practice, give me a skinny little playbook, just learn the basics. They tell me first play I'm in early in the first quarter, I'm playing defensive tackle, and on a trap, they don't block. They don't block the defensive tackle. They want you to get upfield, and they'll either pull the offside guard, so he has about a 5-6 yard running, or Dallas runs what they call a tight end trap. So they'll split the tight end way out wide, so he has about a 20-yard little run, getting ahead of speed, and then the ball snapped. They don't block. They let me get upfield, and then he can blow me up and open up a huge hole. So I get ear hold on a Dallas tight end trap. First play I'm in, catch a helmet by Doug Cosby, who's actually a very good friend of mine now. We connected years later on the brain injury stuff. So major concussion. I don't remember playing that game. I don't remember playing the Rams the following week. And a week and a half later, when my memory started coming back, the trainers and doctors laughingly told me I went through 15 or 20 smelling salts during the Dallas game to keep me on the field. I'd come off sideways, they'd give me a couple, clear my head, go back in. Never missed a play, never missed a practice. And then just a few months later, in the fall, early in the following preseason 81 season, and then weeks prior to that, I started developing headaches and balls of light in front of each eyeball, and my hearing would come and go with the beat of my heart.
Yeah.
And the team doctors diagnosed me with high blood pressure.
Oh my goodness.
I'm 22 years old, prime of my life.
Fit.
Not something I would expect, high blood pressure.
Right.
So for 2.5 weeks, 3 weeks, I'm on high blood pressure pills while my brain was hemorrhaging is what was happening.
Oh my gosh.
And so every night, I'd wake up in the morning with a killer headache and it would get worse and worse. And then I just had knee surgery. So luckily I wasn't practicing and banging heads. I was on injury reserve and just working out during the day.
Yeah.
Get up in the morning with a killer headache. And then I get these balls of light in front of each eyeball that would get bigger as the day progressed. And my hearing would start coming and going with the beat of my heart. My head's ready to pop. And every evening I start just puking my guts out. And I told the docs, I said, hey, when I puke, it feels like I can hit the bowl from 20 yards out and chip porcelain, still chip porcelain.
Wow.
Well, that's known as projectile vomiting, which is a classic sign of intracranial pressure.
Yeah.
And so after all of that is when they said, oh, high blood pressure, take some more pills.
Oh, goodness.
And so 2.5 weeks later, symptoms are getting horrible at night. I'm rooming with two guys on the team, right?
Yeah.
Terry Tutolo and Scott Stouch. And I'm puking. I can't see. Head's exploding. They keep coming in to check on me. Man, let's take you to the hospital. Typical freaking ball player mentality. No, I'm good. High blood pressure. And so about 4:30, 5:30, I don't know, in the morning, earlier, I get focal point paralysis. This arm curls up like an uppercut. Just jams up under my chin.
Oh, goodness.
I'm laying in bed, my hearing's going, my eyesight's going, my head's exploding, I'm puking all over. Now I got this thing going on, and I grab my hand and I pull my arm out, but I couldn't feel this arm. I couldn't feel this hand on this arm. And every time I let go, it would just curl back up under my chin. So now I'm laying there in bed thinking, okay, I'm dying. And if Terry or Scott comes in to check on me, I'll let him take me to the hospital. But here's the humorous part of it, the old football player mentality. I'm not going to be a pussy and go wake him up and ask him to take me to the hospital. So they both felt we had played Chicago that day, so they played in a game, right? So
yeah,
they had fallen asleep. So I'm laying there literally praying. I'm like, all right, God, you know what? Don't let me go out like this. I mean, my eyes, everything's going. Now I've got this paralysis thing going. So I finally passed out, hour or two later, whenever it was, we get up around 7:30 or whatever it is. Day after games or light days. You go in,
Yeah.
Both the general practitioner or orthopedic surgeon, the docs are in the locker room. Guys are getting treatment on injuries. Guys like me on injury reserve doing our rehab. There's a couple of meetings. We break a light sweat. It's a light day. You're out of there. So I wait till our orthopedic surgeon sees everyone that got hurt, and I walk in. There's a little examining room attached to our locker room, right? So I
Yeah.
walk in his office, and he looks at me and says, "What now?" And I said, "Don't effing tell me it's high blood pressure." I said, "My arm went paralyzed last night." And he rolls his eyes. He says, "Sit down." I sit down on his little table. He gets his little retinoscope, those little flashlights that they look in your eye
Yeah.
with,
Hmm.
flips it on. This is how my book starts. This is the first sentence. "Oh my God, your brain's hemorrhaging." I jump off the table ready to kill him. He's going, "No, no,
Mm.
no, no." This is how the book starts. And I'm just going nuts on him. And he's thumbing around behind him. He grabs a phone. He starts dialing a couple numbers, and I'm livid. He scribbles on a pad. He goes, "Just like this, here." And he holds it out like arm's length, like I'm radioactive, right? Like he just wants.
Oh,
He said,
goodness.
he says, "Go home, drive yourself home, lay down, and drive yourself to Stanford Hospital that afternoon through Bay Area traffic, and go see this neurologist." So again, in my book, my next sentence was, my first thought was, "Whew, must be one of those mild brain hemorrhages, or he would have called an ambulance." So I go
Right?
home to my apartment that I shared with Terry and Scott, laid down, and of course the day is progressing, so my headache's getting worse and worse. And
Mm.
drive myself to Stanford. I see this neurologist. He takes one look at me, and they want to do a CT brain scan, but the scanner was booked up for a couple hours.
Oh,
Well, it was
gosh.
starting to get later on in the afternoon, so I told the doc, I said, "Hey," I said, "I'll come back. I'm getting close to my puking time." And he goes, "You drove here?" I said, "Yeah." He goes, "You can't drive like this." I said, "I've been driving like this for weeks." So we're arguing. "No, you're not." So he convinces me to hang out in a room till the scanner's open. And I'm pissed. I'm like, I just want to go home and put a pillow over my head, just try to,
Right.
just turn these bombs off in my head that are just exploding. A
Hmm.
couple hours later, they take me in, do a CT brain scan, rush me in, emergency brain surgery. So so I developed what's called hydrocephalus, water on the brain.
Hmm.
So in your brain, you have ventricles, little cavities like a ventricle. They don't pump anything, but they're about as big around as a pencil, and they're shaped like an X. They cross right in the middle of your brain. And the back two ventricles produce like a pint of spinal fluid a day. They
Wow.
cross through this little tiny opening called the aqueduct of Sylvius. They go through the front two ventricles around your brain, and they flush impurities all and then down your spinal column, and your body reabsorbs the fluid. So it's a free flow system to get rid of dead cells, toxins, and all that.
Hmm.
Well, I developed hydrocephalus. When you have concussions, you'll have scar tissue that builds up on your brain, and they think on me, you plugged up that aqueduct of Sylvius, so my back two ventricles, and you produce a pint of spinal fluid a day.
Yeah.
So on me, every day, I've got a 16-ounce can of beer shoved in those back two ventricles with
Wow.
nowhere to go. So it's crushing my brain from the inside out. So they do some emergency brain surgery. The Niners go, "Oops, we screwed up. Let's make sure this is quiet."
Mm.
So this many people from the facilities came to see me. Not my position coach, not Bill Walsh, our head coach, not the trainers or the doctors, except for my two roommates, Terry and Scott. And Terry was a 6-year vet. They cut him before I get out of the hospital. The day I'm walking back into our apartment, 2 weeks after intensive care, Scott's walking out the door with his bags packed. I said, "Where are you going?" He says, "They're shipping me to New Orleans." I said, "Where's T?" He goes, "They cut him 2 days ago." So the only guys on the team that knew what was going on, they're gone.
They're gone. Yeah.
So while I'm in the hospital in intensive care with tubes all over, the trainers and doctors are calling me, "Hey, Visk, we're going to have a special made helmet. You can keep playing," which is complete bullshit. You can't play with it. One little jar, that tube moves and that's plugged up. And so I came back thinking I was still playing. Now, keep in mind, this is the 81 season. My rookie year in 80, we were like 6-10 or 8. I mean, we were like mediocre. All of a sudden, this is the year we draft Ronnie Lott, Hall of Famer. We've got 3 rookie DBs. All of a sudden, things are rolling. They
Yeah.
don't want, and we're winning. And no one anticipated us going to the Super Bowl. And they don't want anything rocking the boat. So as
Mm-hmm.
the season progresses, I'm like, man, when I had knee surgery just a couple months ago, that's in the paper, but brain surgery, nothing's being said. And they're treating me weird when I came back. I'm thinking, maybe it's just in your head that they just opened up and shoved some tubes in. And so I'm in the weight room one day working out, Montana, Dwight Clark, we're all in there working out. And these 3 couples, husband and wife couples, came through to tour the facilities. And John McVay, our general manager, is taking them around and introducing the players. And so he introduces me to these couples. He says, "This is George Visger, one of our veteran defensive linemen. He's on injury reserve. He had 2 knee operations." And this woman says, 2? How'd you have 2? I said, "No, ma'am, I had knee surgery, I had brain surgery." And John McVay, our general manager, looks me right in the eye. He says, "No brain surgery. You had 2 knee operations," with a look like, "Keep your mouth shut or you're gone." Now, by now, stuff had been going on, and now I'm going, okay, now I know it's not in my head. They're covering
Yeah.
something up. So, long story short, we keep winning. And we're getting ready to go to the Super Bowl. Literally, the day I'm leaving for the Super Bowl. Now, I was on injury reserve, so the real players went back like 2 weeks before the game, and then the injured guys, I think we went back like 6 days before the game. And all the players, we got to take 2 free guests with us. So I took my dad and one of my older brothers. And the day we're leaving, and I'm talking to my oldest brother who wasn't going with us, and I'm like, "Man, Bob, I have no idea what I'm headed for, but I would feel better if my story got out." I said, "They're covering something up, man." I keep in mind, I'm 23. I have no idea that it would be 38 years of legal battles to settle this thing. I
Wow.
was 61 when I settled just my work comp case. This wasn't a malpractice suit. 38 years they fought me. So we're getting ready to leave for the Super Bowl that day. And my brother Bob calls like 5 of the local newspapers: San Francisco Chronicle, the Examiner, the Oakland Tribune, the Sacramento Bee. And he tells him this story. He says, "Hey, I'm a 49er fan. I was at Stanford neurosurgery ward earlier this year. I met this 49er, had brain surgery." And of course, that's a scoop. I mean, pre-Super Bowl,
Yeah.
they do articles on what guys feed their goldfish. I mean, they look for anything. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So every paper he talked to was like, "Oh, no, they're looking up my name. No, he's on injury reserve with knee surgery." And my brother's acting just like a fan. He goes, "I met him. I have his autograph, brain surgery." So every paper said, when he gets to Detroit, we're going to interview him. So Bob calls me up. He says, "When you land, you're going to get inundated." Well, in order for any of the media to find out what hotel I'm in, they had to go through the front desk. No one talks to me. We're there 6 days. Nobody talks to me. So we win. Now, in that time, my first brain surgery was in September, and I remember that because I turned 23 in intensive care. Super Bowl's January. Okay. I'd already been arrested once or twice, maybe once. And we used to go out and have beers every night, right? That's what we
Mhm.
did. All of a sudden, I go out and have beers. And a day or 2 later, I'd run into somebody and they start telling me these crazy stories of things that I'd been doing, punching people out, throwing chairs through windows. I'm like, totally out of character. These are the kind of
Yeah.
people that I hate. I abhor guys like this. So I'm hearing these stories thinking, it's all BS. My buddies want me to think I went crazy for my brain surgery.
Yeah.
Then I start getting up in the morning to go to practice. No truck in front of my apartment. I'm like, no one stole my truck. So I would start calling people. "Did you see me? No. Did you see me?" Yeah, you're at such and such a bar. You punched some guy. I hit you right over there. No truck. Calling. Yeah, you're at this other bar. And I'd find my truck. I didn't even know how I got home. So then I ended up in jail 3 times before May. Super Bowl's in January. Okay, this is May. Been arrested 3 times. I go back and see and losing my truck and hearing stories, just crazy stories. I go see my neurosurgeon at Stanford. I said, hey, something's happened since your surgery. Of course, he gets defensive. Not from my surgery. I said, well, I've been drinking for years. Anyway, they do a brain scan on me, a CT brain scan. He says, you look fine. I told him, I'm going to Mexico. I'm going to Cabo tomorrow with my brother Mel and his wife. We're getting a cabin on the beach and fishing for a few days. No problem. Go ahead and leave the country. I said, what about drinking? No problem. I leave for Mexico the very next day. I have one margarita at dinner. This is just like 24 hours after seeing my neurosurgeon. I start getting pounding headaches, and we were just sharing a little cabin. I said, I'm going to go back to the room. So Mel and Nancy stayed out for a couple hours. My last recollection is I'm in the room, I'm puking my guts out, my head's going to explode, I'm seeing the balls of light. They come in, I'm going to a coma. My brother Mel is calling our brother Bob. Like I said, both my brothers played college football. Bob's calling an orthopedic surgeon friend of his. The orthopedic is calling Dr. Coley Cobb, a neurosurgeon friend of his. Dr. Cobb is telling Dr. Agee, get your friend home. He's dying. Do not let them do brain surgery in Mexico. Agee calls Bob. Bob calls Mel. You got to get him home. They get me to the airport. I mean, I'm puking all over, eyes dilated, can't speak, moaning, my head's going to pop. And my brother has me by the hand. For years, he used to tease me. My family, we have a real warped sense of humor. He goes, oh my gosh. And I was the last one to get married and everybody had kids. So I was Uncle George, everyone, right? So for years, he would go, oh my gosh, Uncle George. He goes, it was like I had Lenny of Mice and Men, the big simple-minded brother. He goes, if I let go of your hand, I would shuffle off and I'm puking. And we miss flight. They're just going, this guy's not flying. We miss another flight. And I'm dying. Wow. And so finally he gets me on a plane, gets me to Long Beach, stabilized. They fly me from Long Beach to Sacramento. Now we've got Dr. Cobb, and he reoperates. And the first shunt they put in, they drilled a hole in the back of my head because there's a tube that has to go right in the middle of my ventricles, right in the middle of my brain. And there's a pressure valve back here, and the tube goes down the side of my neck, through my pec muscle, down in my abdomen. And as we're speaking right now, it's leaking spinal fluid out of my brain. So Cobb puts that second shunt in the same hole that the first guy did, but he said it wasn't a good shot. It wasn't a good place to get a good shot into the ventricle, but I was in such bad shape they didn't want to traumatize me anymore and drill a new hole.
Yeah.
So 10, 12 hours later, my brother Bob gets a phone call from Sutter Memorial Hospital. Is this Bob Visger? Yes, it is. He goes, well, this is Sutter Memorial Hospital. Dr. Cobb wanted me to call you. He says, your family should get down here. Your brother's back in a coma. It doesn't look good. We're taking him in for another brain surgery.
Oh, gosh.
So I had my third brain surgery 10 hours later. Given last rites, I have no memory of the next 16, 18 months. I guess I was really out of it. I'd get violent. I'd blow up. I'd have my family, the girls crying at Thanksgiving dinner. I'm dropping F-bombs in front of my mom, stuff. And so 16, 18 months go by. My memory starts coming back, and I'm talking to my brother. He's telling me all these stories that I still to this day, I don't remember any of it. My first recollection, hospital bills. I didn't even go back to the Niners my second year because I didn't even know to go back. I mean, I was just,
wow.
I don't know. I have no idea where I was.
So you didn't even know that you'd played for the Niners?
I don't know, because that whole year and a half it's gone.
Yeah. I
don't know, so my first recollection is I'm getting hospital bills for my last 2 brain surgeries. And I'd write on it, please bill San Francisco 49ers. And even with my memory, I wrote it so many times, I still remember their address. 711 Nevada Street, Redwood City. I'd get it back from the Niners a week or so later, and this is all they would write. You owe this amount and circle the total for my last 2 brain surgeries. Not even a card like, hey, Visk, sorry to hear you're having trouble again. And this was just not even a year and a half after playing for him, you know? And so that started a multi-year legal battle. Creditors on me. Now I had knee surgery during the season right before my brain surgery, right? By our team orthopedic surgeon, whose nickname was Dr. D for Dr. Doom, because of the numbers of careers he ended with 1 surgery.
Wow.
No exaggeration. This man, 3 of my teammates from 81, just the 81 season alone, successfully sued him for malpractice.